The security alarm screamed through the corridor as Carter sprinted past shattered glass and sparking conduits. Behind him, 3 Vacrian guards closed the distance, their plasma rifles charging with that distinctive whine he'd learned to hate over the past 6 months. He slid around a corner, boots skidding on polished floor, and fired twice without looking. The energy pistol kicked against his palm. 1 guard went down. The other 2 kept coming. "Human, stop running," the lead Vacrian hissed through his translator. "You cannot escape the station." Carter didn't waste breath on a reply. His lungs burned as he vaulted over a maintenance drone and crashed through a door marked in alien script he'd never bothered learning. The room beyond was dark, filled with the hum of life support systems. He ducked behind a massive generator just as plasma bolts scorched the air where his head had been. The heat washed over his neck, too close. His comm unit crackled. "Carter, the docking bay is sealed," said Lopez from somewhere in the station's underbelly. "I can't override it remotely." "Then get creative," Carter snapped, checking his weapons charge. 30%. Not enough. "What did you do up there?" "Doesn't matter. Just open the bay." What he'd done was fall in love with the wrong person, or rather the daughter of the Vacrian High Commander who controlled this entire sector. Lyra had promised him passage to Earth. She'd promised him freedom from the mining contracts that had trapped 2,000 humans on this forsaken rock. She'd lied. The guards burst through the door. Carter fired until his pistol died, then threw it at the nearest Vacrian's face. The alien stumbled. Carter grabbed a pipe from the wall, ripping it free in a spray of coolant, and swung hard. Metal met bone. The Vacrian dropped. The second guard tackled him. They hit the floor together, rolling across scattered tools and debris. Clawed hands wrapped around Carter's throat. He couldn't breathe, couldn't think. His vision darkened at the edges. His fingers found a shard of broken equipment. He drove it upward. The Vacrian made a wet, gurgling sound and went limp. Carter shoved the body aside and staggered to his feet, gasping. Blood ran down his arm. Not all of it was alien. "Bay doors are open," Lopez said. "You've got 2 minutes before station security locks down everything." Carter ran again, leaving the bodies behind. His chest ached. His head pounded. Every step felt like running through mud. The docking bay appeared ahead, bathed in red emergency lighting. His ship waited beyond the airlock, small and battered but fueled and ready. Then he saw her. Lyra stood between him and freedom, a pulse rifle aimed at his chest. Her silver eyes held no warmth, no recognition of the nights they'd shared, the promises whispered in darkness. "You stole classified data," she said quietly. "My father wants you alive." Carter raised his empty hands. Blood dripped from his fingers onto the deck. "Then shoot me," he said, "because I'm not going back." Lyra's finger tightened on the trigger. Carter watched the weapon's charge indicator glow brighter, calculating angles he couldn't possibly dodge. The docking bay stretched 30 meters behind her, 30 meters that might as well have been 30 light years. "The data you took contains jump coordinates to Earth," Lyra said. Her voice stayed level, professional, nothing like the woman who'd traced constellations on his chest 3 nights ago. "Coordinates my father spent decades suppressing. Do you understand what you've done?" "I understand he's been lying to every human on this station," Carter shot back, "telling us Earth was destroyed, that we had nowhere to go. Earth is quarantined for a reason." "That's not his decision to make." A slight tremor crossed her face, gone so fast he almost missed it. "You used me. You used me first." Carter took a step forward. The rifle tracked him. All those conversations about freedom and justice, was any of it real? "Stop moving." He took another step. "Shoot me or don't, Lyra. But I'm getting on that ship." The rifle discharged. The bolt seared past his shoulder, so close he smelled burning fabric. Warning shot. His heart hammered against his ribs. Next one goes through your knee, she said. Lopez's voice crackled in his ear. Station defense grid is powering up. Whatever you're doing, do it faster. Carter's mind raced. The data chip felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds in his pocket. Every human settlement in the sector would receive those coordinates within hours if he made it off this station. 200,000 people who thought they were orphans would learn the truth, unless Lyra stopped him right here. Your father killed my brother, Carter said quietly. Brandon was 17. He asked too many questions about Earth, about why the trading routes didn't match the star charts. Your father had him spaced, called it an accident. Lyra's eyes widened. That's not true. Mining Shaft 7, 14 months ago. 3 witnesses who won't talk because they know what happens to people who talk. My father wouldn't. Your father, Carter interrupted, has built an empire on human labor. We're cheap, expendable, and if we knew we could go home, we'd leave. His colonies would collapse. The rifle wavered, just slightly. I loved you, Carter said. The words tasted like ash. Maybe that was stupid. Maybe I should have known better. But I meant every word I said to you. Don't. Her voice cracked. The coordinates prove Earth is fine, thriving. They just don't want us there because we violated some treaty they made with the Vakrian Empire 50 years ago. A treaty that sold out every human who'd already left. If you broadcast those coordinates, you'll start a war. Then there's a war. Heavy boots echoed in the corridor behind him, reinforcements closing in. Carter had maybe 30 seconds before this became a firefight he couldn't win. Lyra's hands trembled on the rifle. I could have shot you already. I know. I should shoot you. I know that, too. She lowered the weapon. Run. Carter didn't hesitate. He sprinted past her, their shoulders brushing for half a heartbeat. The airlock was already cycling open. His ship's engines hummed to life as Lopez brought systems online remotely. Lyra! A commanding voice boomed through the bay. High Commander Vex strode through the entrance, flanked by a dozen elite guards in full combat armor. His silver scales gleamed under harsh lighting. Step away from the human. Lyra turned to face her father. She didn't move. Carter reached the airlock. Through the transparent viewport, he saw Lyra standing alone between an army and his escape. She'd bought him seconds, maybe a minute if he was lucky. Vex raised his hand. Every weapon in the bay swiveled toward the ship. Last chance, human, Vex called out. Return the data and submit to arrest. Your crew goes free. My crew is 1 person, Carter shouted back. Then 1 person goes free. Simple mathematics. Lopez appeared beside Carter, breathing hard. We need to launch now. Carter's hand hovered over the door control. Through the viewport, Lyra met his eyes. She mouthed 2 words. I'm sorry. Then she fired her rifle at the bay's main power conduit. Everything went dark. Emergency systems kicked in 3 seconds later, bathing the docking bay in blood-red light. Vex roared orders in Vakrian as his guards scattered, trying to re-establish firing positions in the chaos. Sparks rained from the destroyed conduit, filling the air with acrid smoke. Carter slammed the airlock shut and dove into the pilot's seat. His fingers flew across controls as Lopez locked down the rear compartment. The ship shuddered, magnetic clamps releasing one by one. They're bringing weapons online, Lopez warned, eyes glued to the sensor display. Plasma cannons, rail guns, everything. How long until they can fire? Backup generators need 90 seconds. We have maybe 60. The ship lurched forward, thrusters burning hot as Carter pushed them toward the bay doors. Through the cockpit glass, he caught a final glimpse of Lyra. Guards surrounded her now, forcing her to her knees. Vex stood over his daughter, his face twisted with rage. Then the station fell away behind them. Space opened up ahead, vast and black and infinite. Carter angled toward the nearby asteroid field, the only cover within range. His hands moved on instinct, muscle memory from 1,000 smuggling runs before the Vacrians had caught him. "Missiles launching," Lopez said flatly. Carter didn't look at the sensors. He counted in his head, judging distance and velocity, then cut the main engines completely. The ship went dark and silent, momentum carrying them forward as 3 missiles screamed past, their guidance systems locked on the heat signature that had suddenly vanished. The missiles detonated against an asteroid 2 kilometers ahead. The shock wave hit like a hammer. The ship tumbled, spinning end over end. Carter's stomach lurched. Lopez grabbed his restraints as loose equipment crashed around the cabin. Carter fired maneuvering thrusters in precise bursts, fighting the spin. The stars wheeled past the viewport, a dizzying carousel of light. His inner ear screamed that he was falling. He ignored it. The ship stabilized. Carter brought engines back online and dove deeper into the asteroid field. "They're following," Lopez said. "2 frigates. No 3. "Of course they are." Carter weaved between tumbling rocks the size of buildings, each maneuver coming within meters of instant death. The frigates were larger, slower, but they had firepower that could vaporize his ship with a single hit. They also had to be more careful. A plasma bolt seared past the port side, superheating a nearby asteroid until its surface turned molten. Carter banked hard right, then dropped suddenly, using a massive rock for cover. Another bolt struck where they'd been a second before. "You know we can't outrun them forever," Lopez said. "We don't need forever. Just until we reach the relay point. That's 7 hours away. Then we stay alive for 7 hours." Lopez pulled up a tactical display, his dark eyes calculating angles and probabilities. He'd been a naval officer before the Vacrians had pressed him into mining work. Carter had been a cargo pilot. Neither of them had signed up for war. War had found them anyway. There, Lopez pointed at the display. That asteroid cluster, bearing 273, dense enough to lose them if we're lucky. "I don't believe in luck." "Then believe in physics. They can't track us through that much interference." Carter adjusted course, pushing the engines harder than they were designed for. The temperature gauge climbed into the red. He ignored it. The cluster loomed ahead, hundreds of rocks colliding and fragmenting in a slow-motion dance of destruction. A frigate appeared above them, cutting off the escape route, its weapons charged, targeting systems locking on. Carter grinned despite everything. "Lopez, remember that maneuver we talked about? The stupid one? The one that would definitely kill us? That's the one. I hate you so much right now." Carter killed the engines again and fired every thruster on the starboard side simultaneously. The ship spun like a coin, rotating so fast the artificial gravity failed. Lopez shouted something Carter couldn't hear over the screaming metal. The frigate's plasma bolt passed through the space they should have been. Still spinning, Carter fired the main engines at full burn. They shot backward, upside down, straight toward another asteroid. Lopez covered his eyes. Carter waited until the rock filled the entire viewport. Then he cut engines and fired retro thrusters. The ship stopped so suddenly that everything not bolted down became a projectile. Carter's head cracked against the headrest. Stars exploded in his vision. The frigate wasn't as lucky. It couldn't stop, couldn't turn. 3,000 tons of warships slammed into solid rock at combat speed. The explosion lit up the asteroid field like a newborn sun. "One down," Carter gasped, tasting blood. 2 to go. Lopez stared at him. "You're actually insane." "Probably." The remaining frigates hung back now, more cautious. They knew they were hunting someone who had nothing left to lose. Carter's comm unit activated. Static, then Vex's voice, cold and precise. "Impressive flying, human, but you cannot hide forever. Carter didn't answer. He guided the ship deeper into the asteroid field, using the interference to mask their trajectory. The comm stayed open, Vex's breathing audible through the static. "And I know what you're thinking," Vex continued. "Reach the relay station. Transmit the data. Become a hero to your species." Lopez checked the relay distance. 6 hours, 40 minutes, an eternity. "But consider this," Vex said. "Every human on this station, every settlement in my territory. What happens to them when you broadcast those coordinates?" Carter's jaw clenched. He'd considered it. Spent sleepless nights considering it. "You think I won't retaliate?" Vex asked. 200,000 humans. I can't kill them all, but I can make examples. Bloody ones, public ones. "He's bluffing," Lopez whispered. Carter wasn't sure. Vex hadn't built an empire through empty threats. "Lyra is in a detention cell," Vex said. "Treason carries a death sentence, even for my daughter. Especially for my daughter. I must show that no one is above Vacrian law." Carter's hands tightened on the controls. An asteroid tumbled past, close enough to scrape paint from the hull. "Return the data. Turn yourself in. I'll show mercy to Lyra, to the other humans." "You have my word." "Your word," Carter spat, finally responding. "Like the word you gave when you said Earth was destroyed? Like the word you gave Brandon before you spaced him?" Silence. Then, "Your brother was an unfortunate accident. You're a liar, and you're a thief who seduced my daughter for information. We're both compromised men, Carter. The difference is I have the power to save lives. You only have the power to end them." The calm went dead. Lopez exhaled slowly. "He's getting in your head." "I know, so we stick to the plan." Carter nodded, but doubt gnawed at him. 200,000 people. How many would Vex actually kill? How many was acceptable collateral for the truth? The relay station appeared on long-range sensors, still 6 hours out, but visible now. A blinking beacon of hope. A proximity alarm shrieked. Carter jerked the controls left. A magnetic mine detonated where they'd been, the blast wave shoving them into a spin. More mines appeared on sensors, dozens of them, scattered throughout the field like deadly seeds. "They seeded the route," Lopez said. "Must have deployed them while we were running." Carter's mind raced. The mines were too dense to navigate safely. Any course toward the relay meant threading through a gauntlet that would tear them apart. "Can you hack their detonation codes?" Carter asked. "In 6 hours? Maybe, if I had the right equipment, which I don't." Another mine drifted close. Carter adjusted course carefully, giving it wide berth. The frigates hung back, watching, waiting for the mines to do their work. "We need a new plan," Lopez said. Carter studied the sensor display. The asteroid field extended for thousands of kilometers in every direction. The relay station sat on the far edge, impossible to reach through the minefield unless they went around. "There," he pointed at the display. "The field thins out near that radiation belt. We swing wide, come at the relay from the opposite vector. That adds 4 hours to our trip. We don't have fuel for a 10-hour run. Then we'll coast part of the way. In a radiation belt, we'll be cooked. The ship's shielding will hold." Lopez looked at him. "You're guessing. Educated guessing. That's still guessing." A mine exploded behind them, pushed into their wake by a frigate's weapons fire. The Vacrians were getting impatient, using the mines as weapons instead of passive traps. Carter banked hard, accelerating toward the radiation belt. The ship's computer immediately screamed warnings. Radiation levels hazardous, shielding inadequate, crew exposure critical. He overrode every warning. The belt appeared as a shimmering curtain of charged particles, beautiful and lethal. Carter plunged the ship into it without slowing. The hull temperature spiked. Sensors flickered and died, then came back online showing garbage data. Lopez activated the radiation shielding, routing every spare bit of power to the protective fields. The lights dimmed. Life support stuttered. "How long do we stay in here?" Lopez asked. "Long enough to lose them." Through the interference, Carter couldn't see the frigates, couldn't track the mines. They flew blind, trusting velocity and vector to carry them through. The ship groaned. Metal expanded in the heat. Warning lights painted the cabin in shades of amber and red. Carter's skin tingled. Hair stood up on his arms. The radiation was getting through, finding gaps in the shielding, microscopic flaws in the hull plating. "Radiation exposure at 15% maximum safe dosage," the computer announced. 20%, 25. Lopez gripped his seat. His face had gone pale. This was a terrible idea. Most of my ideas are terrible. 35%. The ship bucked, caught in a particle stream. Carter fought the controls, keeping them on course through sheer determination. His head pounded. Nausea rolled through his gut. 50%. Almost through, Carter lied. He had no idea how close they were. Sensors showed nothing but static. 60%, 70. Lopez started coughing. Blood flecked his lips. "Hold on," Carter urged. "Just hold on." The radiation peaked at 80 to 5%, then began dropping as they emerged from the belt's far side. The shimmering curtain fell away behind them. Space looked clean and normal again, though Carter knew the damage was done. Cells were dying. DNA was unraveling. They'd need medical treatment soon, or the exposure would kill them. But they were alive now. That was enough. The relay station appeared on sensors much closer than before, 3 hours away instead of 10, and between them and the station nothing but open space. "We made it," Lopez whispered. Carter checked the rear sensors. The frigates hadn't followed through the radiation belt. They'd circled around, taking the long route, trying to cut off the relay station before Carter could reach it. They were too far away. Carter had won the race. The relay station grew from a distant point of light to a sprawling structure of communications arrays and solar panels. Automated defenses tracked their approach but didn't fire. The station was neutral territory, maintained by the Galactic Commerce Guild. Even Vex couldn't attack it without triggering a diplomatic crisis. Carter brought the ship in slowly, conserving fuel. Every movement felt heavy. His arms ached. Lopez had stopped coughing, but his breathing came shallow and quick. "How bad is it?" Carter asked. Lopez checked the medical scanner. "Bad enough. We need treatment within 12 hours or things get irreversible. The station has medical facilities, assuming they'll help humans." The docking procedure was automated. Clamps locked onto their hull with metallic thuds. Pressurization equalized. Carter shut down the engines and sat in the sudden silence, letting the weight of the past hours settle on him. They'd made it. Against every odd, every weapon, every threat, they'd actually made it. "The frigates are holding position outside weapons range," Lopez said, watching sensors, "waiting to see what we do." Carter pulled the data chip from his pocket. Such a small thing, barely larger than his thumbnail. It contained star charts, jump coordinates, communication protocols, everything needed to reach Earth, and embedded in the data, proof. Medical records showing humans forcibly relocated, contract forgeries, execution orders signed by Vex himself, 50 years of systematic oppression documented in ones and zeros. "Once we transmit this, everything changes," Carter said. "That's the idea. People will die. Vex will make sure of it." Lopez met his eyes. "People are already dying. Your brother died. How many others? How many disappeared into mining accidents or spacing incidents or sudden illness?" Carter knew the answer. Hundreds, at least. Maybe thousands across all Vacrian territories. "And if we don't transmit it," Lopez continued, "how many more will die never knowing they had a home to return to?" Carter stood, wincing at the pain in his joints. Radiation sickness was setting in faster than expected. Let's find the transmission array. The station's interior was sterile and empty. Most relay stations operated with minimal crew, relying on automation for routine functions. Their footsteps echoed off metal walls as they navigated by emergency lighting. A Quillian administrator met them in the main corridor. She was tall and thin, her feathers the color of old brass. Her 4 eyes studied them with obvious suspicion. "You are the humans the Vacrian fleet is searching for," she stated. Not a question. "We need to use the long-range array," Carter said. "Transmission fees are posted. Do you have credits?" Carter pulled out a credit chip, everything he'd saved over 6 months of labor. Barely enough. The Quillian scanned it and nodded. "Bay 7. You have 30 minutes of transmission time." They found Base 7 and its massive communication array. Lopez began setting up the equipment while Carter loaded the data chip into the system. His hands shook slightly. Radiation or nerves, he couldn't tell. "Targeting all human settlements in range," Lopez said, fingers dancing across controls. "That's 43 stations, 17 mining colonies, 6 trading outposts. Approximately 170,000 people will receive this simultaneously." "Do it." Lopez hesitated. "Carter, once I hit this button, there's no taking it back. I know. Vex will declare open war on human populations. The Vacrian military will mobilize. Blood will spill. I know that too. Just making sure we're clear on the consequences." Carter thought of Brandon. 17 years old, full of questions and hope. They'd found his body floating near the station, helmet cracked, eyes frozen open. Accident, the report had said. Tragic loss. He thought of Lyra in her cell, waiting for execution because she'd chosen truth over loyalty. He thought of 200,000 humans scattered across the stars, believing they were orphans when they were actually hostages. "Hit the button," Carter said. Lopez took a breath and activated the transmission. The array hummed to life, broadcasting across multiple frequencies simultaneously. The data streamed outward at light speed, unstoppable, irreversible. Within seconds, it would reach the nearest settlements. Within minutes, everyone would know Earth was alive. Earth was waiting. The coordinates were real. An alarm blared. The Quillian administrator's voice came through the intercom, sharp with panic. "Vacrian warships are powering weapons. They're violating neutral space protocols. This is unprecedented." Carter and Lopez ran to the observation deck. Through the reinforced windows, they watched 3 frigates advance on the station, their weapons arrays glowing with barely contained energy. "They're going to destroy the relay," Lopez said. "Cut off the transmission before it completes." Can they do that? If they don't care about the diplomatic fallout, yes. The lead frigate opened fire. Plasma bolts hammered into the station's shields, which flared bright blue under the assault. The entire structure shuddered. "Shields at 60%, the Quillian announced. 50%. We are a neutral facility. This is an act of war." The frigates didn't care. They kept firing, methodical and relentless. Carter checked the transmission progress. 70% complete. 30 seconds more and the data would be fully distributed, cached in dozens of locations, impossible to suppress. The shields failed. Plasma tore into the station's outer hull, sections depressurized with explosive force. The lights died, replaced by emergency systems. Somewhere, people were screaming. "Transmission at 85%, Lopez shouted over the alarms. Another hit. Closer this time. The observation deck's window cracked, spiderweb patterns spreading across reinforced glass. 90%. The frigates concentrated fire on the communications array. Metal vaporized. Arrays collapsed in showers of sparks and debris. 95%. Carter held his breath. The array exploded in a ball of white fire. The transmission stopped at 98%. Lopez slammed his fist against the console. No, no, we were so close. Carter stared at the burning wreckage. 98%. Was that enough? Had the core data made it through? The coordinates, the proof, the truth? His comm unit crackled. Vex's voice triumphant. Did you really think I would let you win, human? Carter said nothing. You've accomplished nothing except ensuring Lyra's execution. I hope your futile gesture was worth her life. The comm went dead. Lopez looked at Carter, waiting for orders, for hope, for anything. Carter's mind raced, searching for options that didn't exist. They were trapped on a dying station, surrounded by warships. Their mission 98% complete. 98%. Not enough. Then his comm activated again, different frequency, different voice. Carter, this is Commander Pierce of the Human Settlement New Dallas. We received your transmission. Incomplete but readable. Coordinates confirmed. We're spreading the word to every human in the sector. Another voice. This is Station Mercy. Data received and redistributed. Another. Mining Colony Perseverance. Message received. Coordinates locked in. Lopez's eyes went wide. They got it. 98% was enough. Dozens of voices flooded the comm now, a chorus of confirmation from across the sector. The data was spreading exponentially, human to human, impossible to contain. Carter started laughing. It hurt his radiation-damaged lungs, but he couldn't stop. They'd won. The frigates pulled back from the dying relay station. Their mission failed despite the destruction. Through the cracked observation window, Carter watched them retreat into formation. Vex's flagship at the center. They hung in space like vultures, waiting. Station evacuation in progress, the Quillian administrator announced. All personnel to escape pods. You have 4 minutes. Lopez grabbed Carter's arm. We need to move. But Carter stayed at the window, watching something else. New contacts appearing on the tactical display. Ships dropping out of hyperspace at the edge of the system. Dozens of them. Hundreds. Human ships. Cargo haulers retrofitted with weapons. Mining vessels bristling with improvised cannons. Personal shuttles flying in tight formations. Every human settlement within jump range had sent what they could spare, responding to the coordinates, to the call, to the proof that they weren't alone. They came, Lopez whispered. The ragtag fleet advanced on the Vacrian frigates. They were outgunned, outmatched, flying ships held together with duct tape and desperation. But they came anyway, because that's what humans did. Commander Pierce's voice cut through the calm. Vacrian vessels, you are ordered to stand down and withdraw. This system is now under human protection. Vex responded with weapons fire. Plasma bolts lanced through space, destroying a mining ship in a single hit. The human fleet scattered, then regrouped, returning fire with everything they had. The battle was brief and brutal. 2 more human ships died in fire, but there were too many targets coming from too many angles. A cargo hauler rammed a frigate, its pilot's last act taking out the warship's engines. Torpedoes from a dozen ships converged on another frigate, overwhelming its shields. Vex's flagship turned to run. Carter's ship was still docked, barely functional but spaceworthy. He and Lopez raced through depressurizing corridors, reaching the airlock as emergency pods launched around them. They sealed themselves in and fired the engines on emergency power. The ship limped away from the station just as the reactor breached. The explosion washed over them, radiation counters screaming. But they were clear. Where are we going? Lopez asked. Carter set a course. The coordinates from the data chip burned into his memory. Home. The jump to Earth took 3 days. They spent it in medically induced coma. the ship's basic autodock fighting the radiation damage in their cells. Carter woke to proximity alarms and the most beautiful sight he'd ever seen. A blue marble hanging in black space, clouds swirling over oceans, continents green and brown and achingly familiar from pictures he thought were lies. Earth. Defense satellites challenged them immediately. Human military vessels, sleek and advanced, nothing like the desperate ships that had fought at the relay station. Carter transmitted the authentication codes from the data chip. "This is Terran Defense Command," a crisp voice responded. "You are cleared for approach. Welcome home, wayfarers." They landed at a facility outside what had once been called Houston. Officials met them. Doctors rushed them to treatment. Questions came in waves, debriefings, explanations, the full story of Vex's empire, of 50 years of lies, of humans scattered and enslaved. Earth had known. The government had made a treaty, sacrificing colonists for peace, but the people hadn't known. And now they did. Carter recovered in a hospital room with a window overlooking green fields, real grass, real sky. He'd forgotten what weather looked like. Lopez visited on the third day. They're assembling a fleet. A real one. Military ships, not cargo haulers. They're going back for everyone in Vacrian space. And Vex, warrant issued for war crimes. The Galactic Commerce Guild revoked his neutral port privileges. He's boxed in. Carter nodded. It wasn't enough. Vex had killed thousands, but it was a start. "There's someone here to see you," Lopez said. He left. Another person entered. Lyra stood in the doorway, thinner than Carter remembered, bruises fading on her silver skin. She wore civilian clothes, no uniform, no rank insignia. "They released you," Carter said. "Traded, part of the ceasefire negotiations." She crossed to the window, not looking at him. "My father is demanding I return. Face trial for treason. Will you?" "No." Silence stretched between them. Outside, birds Carter couldn't name sang in trees. "I helped them plan the rescue missions," Lyra said quietly. "Gave them intel on Vacrian station layouts, security protocols, everything I knew. My father will never forgive me." "I'm sorry." She finally looked at him. "Are you? You got what you wanted. Earth, freedom, justice. I didn't want you to lose everything. I chose to lose it. That's different." She sat in the chair beside his bed. "The stories are spreading. They're calling you a hero. The man who stole a Vacrian princess's heart and freed humanity." Carter laughed bitterly. "They don't know the whole truth. Which is that I fell in love with you, really. And I still don't know if that was real or just convenient." Lyra was quiet for a long moment. "It was real for me, is real, even knowing what it cost." She stood to leave. Carter caught her hand. "Stay," he said. "On Earth, they're offering asylum to any Vacrian who opposes the Empire. And do what? I'm a soldier, a commander. There's no place for me in peacetime. Then help bring the others home. You know Vex's systems better than anyone." She looked at their joined hands. "Your people will never trust me. Then they're fools." Outside, a massive transport ship lifted into orbit, heading back to the stars. The first of many, carrying soldiers and diplomats and hope to settlements that had been dark for too long. Lyra squeezed his hand once, then let go. "I'll think about it." She left. Carter didn't know if she'd come back, but he'd given her the choice. That was more than Vex had ever done. He stood on shaky legs and walked to the window. Earth stretched below, green and blue and impossibly alive. Somewhere out there, Brandon was buried in space, drifting forever. But his questions had been answered. His death had meant something. The price had been heavy. Blood and pain and lives destroyed. But 200,000 humans were coming home, and that was